This young man became a landlord in Nairobi at only 29 years old. I know you're assuming he has millions, but he started with only 300,000 and he now earns rent from his investments in buildings located in Nairobi. Here is his story. So Mwenda came to Nairobi in 2017. He had gone to uni in Njoro, out of Nairobi. When he got a job in Nairobi in an auditing firm, he was very excited to become a landowner in the city. He wanted to build a residential home for him and his family, and also build some bed sitters in the same compound. So from day one, he was an aggressive saver. He had joined a circle at his workplace. He started buying cows and cattle and bulls in his village. He had MMFs. He had all these investments. He was in all of them, buying NSC units somewhere and that kind of stuff, because his target was clear. I need to buy my plot and build my house. Then on the side, I need to build some bed sitters. You can imagine that kind of very straightforward and ambitious young man coming in the city from Nakuru. So after working for about 3 years, he had saved enough money. So in 2021, that's when he was able to afford his first piece of land in Juja farm. It was being sold for 550,000, but he had to liquidate all his assets. You remember the cows he bought? He had to sell them. He had to sell all his MMFs, all the shares, and then in the circle he couldn't get a guarantor, so he had also to withdraw all his savings. But he was a landowner now, so he goes back from zero. He rejoins the circle again because now he needs to save enough money to build this on this piece of land. And he had a budget of 1.5, so he wanted to start with a small bungalow, which he can then add some units in the same compound. So this is 2021. He starts from scratch. 2022, he overhears a conversation where his supervisor at work is receiving a check for rental income in some building he owns. So he's like, hey, you guys, you are rich. But the supervisor is like, no, I use something called I-rates. You don't know rates. So he had never heard of rates, but rates is an acronym for Real Estate Investment Trust. It's a form of collective investment like a SACCO or a Nairobi Stock Exchange listed company, where a building is turned into a REIT, which is like a company with shareholders. But unlike a company where there are shareholders, the CMA, which regulates REITs, has certain strict criteria on how the rental income generated from the building is to be used. 80% of it must be paid out to the shareholders. So for example, if a building is worth 100 million and it generates rent that is 10 million, then 8 million must be distributed to the shareholders, unlike a company where it can make the 10 million and pay the shareholder zero because it needs to reinvest the 10 million. So you get the whole idea of a REIT. It uses the power of collective investment where many people can come together. So the building I was telling you about, 100 million, can be divided into shares worth 10 shilling. So there will be 10 million shares. And if you buy 1,000 shares, then you will be entitled to rental income equivalent to your shares. So Mwenda sees this is a good opportunity. I think I can try and start small. He starts by checking on which platforms he can use. He comes across the VUCA Investment Club, which is a platform that allows Kenyans to buy Kenya's premier I-rate, the Acorn Student Accommodation I-rate, which is behind the Kwetu and Kejani brand of hostels. You may have seen them in Hurlingham, in USIU, in Wilson View, in Parklands. All these prime areas, they have buildings. So these buildings are turned into units or shares which you can buy through VUCA. So Mwenda puts in 5,000 every month, and then he starts to see the investment is earning him returns, consistent return. Every time there is a valuation, the value of his shares increase. So the valuation is on the entire building. The building was worth 200 million last year. This year it becomes to 20 million. Then his shares reflect that percentage increase. Then number two, Anytime the rent is being paid out after the audited reports have been done, twice a year he gets a check for his dividends. So that's also a good plus for him. So he decides to start with the 5,000, but as the money is coming in, he decides now, I think I will put in more money. So he pulls some of the money he was saving elsewhere, because his target is $1 million. Today he has accumulated 300,000 in the VUCA Investment Club, and he put it there because, number one, unlike the first piece of land where he had to sell everything, he's still able to earn income generating property in Nairobi without having to sell his whole portfolio. So he is still able to buy cows and bulls at home. He has some shares. He's still able to invest in the MMFs, but at the same time he's also accumulating rental income from the investment he has kept with VUCA. So number two, it's a good platform for him since he's saving with a goal. He wants to build in 2027 and he needs 1.5 million. The 300,000 that he has saved so far, he prefers to keep it with VUCA because there it's earning consistent returns and it's appreciating from the capital appreciation. Number three is it's easy to liquidate. If he wanted to sell the piece of land in Juja, he'll probably need 8 months or 6 months to a year to sell the piece of land. However, with the VUCA Investment Club, he owns a piece of real estate and he can liquidate it in a matter of days. If he was to need his money back, he can easily sell them through the VUCA platform to other investors, or even sell through the unquoted section of the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And of course, the other preference for him was, unlike the other investment in the physical piece of land where he had to put in 550,000, here he only needed to start with 5,000, which started earning rental income from the Kejani and Kwetu brand of hostels from day one. So the moment he put in the 5,000, the income was instant, unlike with the physical piece of land where he has to wait until he builds for his family, then he builds the bed-sitter. So he prefers this VUCA investment platform because of those factors. You can read Mwenda's full story about the I-rate investment and his experience with the product. Click on the link provided to learn more.